time to wrap up reality. I'm your host, Tom Versey, and welcome to TV Talks with Tom. I mean, what a finale, folks, and what a journey we've been on, you know, through the season itself and my podcast, which is now sort of turned into a video channel. So that is really exciting for me, but it's also emotional times coming to the end of the first season of any TV show that I've covered. The next one I'm going to be doing, I will reveal at the end of the episode. But I've thoroughly enjoyed doing this, and I can't thank you guys enough to keep coming back and viewing. I mean, my last video, it was the first video to go over 100 views. I think it's on about 130 something now, so massive thank you, folks. I really do appreciate that. You're legends, seriously, so thank you so much. And I think it's about time we start talking about the finale of Survivor Edge of Extinction. Now, I will warn you before I go into this, when I've got my podcast, obviously, I can't be seen on camera, so I've got my notes and I sort of read off them. So if you catch me looking down, it's only because I've got a list of notes there, just as sort of a little prompt so I can keep everything running smoothly, and so I know what to say. Well, it's not what to say, but because obviously it's my opinions, but it's sort of just little reminders of what happened in which sections of the episode. So that's all. So I'm going to start off by looking down slightly. Okay, so it's the finale, and Jeff introduces the season live from LA. So we're in this big soundstage in LA. We've got the massive audience going, and we've got all the castaways there as well from this, in my opinion, a brilliant series. I know fan opinion may be different, and for different people, obviously, but for me, I've loved this series, and I really think it's shown great diversity, and I also think it's been something that everyone can enjoy. I know not everyone has, but I don't see why everyone hasn't enjoyed it, because it's been a diverse cast, and it's been a unique concept as well, and I love a unique concept with the Edge of Extinction. I think it's really dug into people's emotions and seeing how far mentally and physically they can push themselves to the limits, which I thought was fantastic and great to see. So we see first, we all know what we're waiting for. We're looking forward to the battle back competition of the Edges, the people who have been living on the Edge of Extinction. So Jeff tells everyone what they have to do for the challenge. So I'll just quickly go over it here. So if you catch me looking down, it's only because I'm reading out what happens. Okay, so you're attached to a rope and you have to manoeuvre yourself through some rope obstacles. I think there's about 3 to do, and then you have to use some pieces of rope when you get to this section to build a bridge. So you're just putting several consecutive pieces of rope in front of each other, and then you have to, once you're over that bridge, you've got one of those ball mazes where you have to sort of tilt the table. And you have to land the ball in 2 different positions. And the first to do so, to complete it, will return to the game with Devons, Victoria, Lauren, Gavin and Julie. So without further ado, let's jump straight in and talk about it. So Eric completes the first obstacle of rope first, and he's followed by Aurora, then Juliet, then Joe. So them 4 leading the chase at the moment. So then we have Chris, who makes it through, and then eventually everyone gets through apart from War Dog and Ron, who appear to be struggling. And then Aubrey and Reem get stuck on the second obstacle, whilst everyone else is starting to progress. So they're sort of trailing at the back now with War Dog and Ron. And then I did catch Reem again. She went for the love of God, dude, and she loves that dude. I love when she says dude, it's like, thank you, Reem, you're a legend. It's a gift to us, because it's it's a catchphrase we'll remember from this season. Someone says Reem, we'll be like, dude. So thanks, Reem, again for that. Next up, I saw Aurora. So Aurora made it through the second obstacle first, so she takes the lead after that. So Aurora was again proving herself to be a physical threat, like she always is, challenge after challenge after challenge, and I cannot respect her enough for that. That is top-notch Aurora, so well done there. And then she is followed by Eric, then Wentworth, who's back, who's fighting back to stay in this, and Joe and David as well. So then Chris gets through, and then Eric unties the knot and begins to Eric unties the knot, and then he has a lead, but it's very close, and it's followed by Joe and Wentworth behind him. So that's 2 returning players who are coming up to Eric, and he needs to be worried, basically. He needs to be worried, right? So Aurora catches up as well as Chris, and then David catches up as well. We see him sprinting towards them. War Dog, Ron, Reem and Aubrey still at the second rope stage, but then Julia manages to catch up as well. Julia makes it through and begins building the bridge with everyone else. And then Aurora, Joe and Eric take the lead by building the bridge. I think Aurora was first off. She built the bridge first, got across, but it was extremely close, and Joe and Eric managed to catch up as well. So that was fantastic to see that. So Eric and Joe, yeah, they're tiny bit behind Aurora, but not too far. Next we see Criss Cross. Oh, that sounded quite funny. Next we see Criss Cross, and Aurora unties the knots as well and moves on to the table maze. So Aurora is the first to reach the table maze as Criss continues to cross. And yes, I really did want to say that again because it sounded quite funny in my opinion. Probably not in yours, but in mine, Criss Cross, I think it does. Eric, Joe, they begin the maze, followed by Criss as well. So Criss is catching up. And Aurora, she lands her first ball on the table maze, so she has a great lead right now. And, you know, at this point you're thinking, yeah, Aurora's got this, she's got it in the bag. But then Wentworth also begins the table maze, and David also begins the table maze too. But Aurora no longer has the lead as Joe and Criss also land their first ball. So it's really tight now, anyone's game. Great television because we're sort of, it's suspense and we're sort of like, is this person going to win? Is this person going to win? And we don't know, and it's all just going poof. So that's brilliant TV in my opinion. War Dog and Ron catch up to the ball maze as well, so they've made a huge comeback. And Joe and Criss seem to be neck and neck. Aurora was struggling a tiny bit more to get a second ball in. She kept dropping it and kept going down the side, so it sort of looked like she was out the run at this point, but I'll continue anyway. So Joe and Criss were neck and neck, so close. Joe was sort of tilting the table to get his final ball in, and then I don't know if it was nerves, I don't know if it was the intensity of it, but his ball tipped off the track, giving Criss the chance to return to the game. So Criss just has to land this ball now, and he's through, and guess what, folks? He landed that ball. Criss is back in the game. Well done, Criss. You did an excellent job. He's been on the edge of extinction for so long, so massive congratulations to him, and also there was a congratulations from Devons. He was like, awesome job, Criss, and I did agree. Awesome job. Anyone who's pushed themselves to stay on the edge of extinction and win this competition is a winner in my books, because I think it's fantastic that they've that was what I was on about at the beginning when I said about I love the concept of this season, how it's about mental state, it's about your physical state as well, and it's all about how far can you push yourself, and Criss did just that, because Criss has been, I think he's one of the longest people on the edge of extinction. I think it's after Reem, he's probably the longest on there, so fantastic to see someone who's been on there for so long return to the game, in my opinion. So more about the concept on Edge of Extinction. We did see after Criss returned to the game, he sent them all back off to camp, and then he talked to the people who failed the challenge and weren't successful to get back in the game. So he did talk about the concept of Edge of Extinction, about how it wasn't just an opportunity to return to the game. Edge of Extinction was something about your physical and mental state and how far you could push yourself, and they have proven to themselves that they can do that. And they are, you know, fighters. They are fighters for that. And I watched the Ponderosa episodes after, watching them reflect on their time there. And I find Ponderosa so uplifting. I love it, and it's so life-affirming. And it just makes you feel good about yourself and appreciate things around you, because I think a lot of time, I know that this is probably going to sound really cheesy to some people, but, you know, I think a lot of the time in life you can take things for granted. And again, this sounds cliche, but when you watch something like that and you watch people who are stripped of things and then they're giving them back, it makes you realise you need to care about these things that you're being given in life, because you don't. It's not something that that you're born with. It's something that you grow into and you adapt to. You don't need this stuff, but it helps you. They're not necessities, they're wants, and I think. It was really nice to sort of see people appreciating that and just appreciating life in general, and it was so life affirming for me as well. Obviously not as much as them, but I really did feel uplifted after watching that, so that was excellent. So anyway, back to opinions and the concept. The sort of all the castaways begin talking about their lessons and the views that they've learned during their time, and they were getting really emotional, and I don't blame them. I was getting quite emotional as well watching it. It was a touching moment, it really was, and we saw Reem talking about how she really thinks she's made her family proud. She thinks she's made her husband proud. She thinks she's made her children proud. And I think she said husband and children. and that was nice to see. We saw, you know, the returnees talking about how this was a really sort of interesting time for them when they're in the game. You know, like we had Kelly, we had Joe, we had Aubrey and David. They were all saying, I thought, well, I don't know if they said it directly, but the general sort of message was that, like, out of all the times that they've been in the game, this one has been the most sort of, that's pushed them to the limit and helped them and improved them as a person, really. And I think the majority of people were just sort of saying how they better themselves as people, and, you know, I think that was great. That really was. So they might not have won the game, but this is going to sound cliche, they've won life, because there's nothing more you want, really, is there, than to come back a better person, to be better around the people that you love and the people that you care for. I think that was really, really lovely to see. So I love that. Ooh, I think I've said love too many times, but I really liked that. It was great. So now they, as I said, they all returned off to camp. The people who were still in the game, and the others headed off to Ponderosa. So I'm not sure, I might do a video on Ponderosa, but we'll see. I've got a couple of videos planned, sort of like post-season, but Ponderosa could be one of them, but it might not be. But anyway, let's go back. So Varta, day 35 it is now. 35 days in the game, that's over a month. Crazy times, crazy times. 4 more days to go till the end of the game, day 39. So, as I said, Chris has returned to the game, and he's telling people that he was like, yeah, I'm happy to be back in the game, but I'm cool if I go home tomorrow. You're not cool if you go home tomorrow, Chris. If I'd sat on a desert island for however many days, I'm not 100% sure, but however many days, there is no way I would come back going, it's cool, bro. Yeah, I'm happy with going home, because, I mean, who would do that? You sat on an island and you're thinking, $1 million, $1 million, $1 million, and you just want that money. That's all you'd want, and you'd want the title of Sole Survivor. So to come back after all those days and just go, yeah, it's cool if I go home tomorrow. No one's buying that, and let me tell you, no one didn't buy that. Victoria and Lauren did not believe it. So they were saying there's no way he's giving up, and I thought, yeah. I mean, it didn't take a genius really to guess that out, but you know, I liked Victoria and Lauren for telling it like it is there. That was good. So we saw Chris and Devon's getting talking. So we saw what happened last time. Devon's betrayed and backstabbed Chris last time they were in the game, and that's why Chris got sent home. So whether or not Chris has been sat on the edge for all this time thinking he's plotting revenge, but we find out now Chris was not plotting revenge. He wanted to brush that aside, and because if he had shown that sort of sour sort of gameplay, it might not have played well off on his side, or the jury might not have I can't get my words out. The jury might not have liked the look of that. So that's fair enough, I think, in my opinion. So we did see them talking, and Rick did say, right, I promise not to put your name down. So I thought that was I think Rick had to do that, really, because everyone else is going for him, so he needs an ally on his side. And Chris said, you know what, I'm gonna shake your hand on that, and I'm not gonna put your name down either. It was an honest, genuine deal, and I got to respect them for that, because, you know, as much as this game is about lying, backstabbing, and sort of getting your way to the end, there is also a lot of heart and personal relations involved in this game. It's a social game, and it was nice. I like to see a genuine sort of like connection and relationship, and I do respect that a lot. Moving on to night 35 now, and we see Chris tells Lauren that Wentworth had a message for her. It was about sort of, if Lauren wants to win the game, she needs to step up her game. And she sort of said, if you're gonna win, you need to play an idol correctly, and whether it's on yourself or it's on someone else, but you need to play it correctly, basically. Lauren then stoked the conversation by saying, you know, I think we should work together. I think me and you should work together. So that's Lauren and Chris, obviously. And she did say in a confessional that she thinks Chris is her best option. An immunity challenge now, and this involves, they have to go through some ropes. That's more ropes again. And they have to walk over a beam, and they have to collect this bag along the way, so it's sort of just grab it as you go. And then they have to take this bag to solve a number pin, and when they solve this number pin, they collect the puzzle pieces. They then take the puzzle pieces to the end, and just like usual, the first person to solve the puzzle, and it's a circular puzzle, so it's sort of like that, like a 3D sort of one, will win individual immunity. So I'm going to go over this quite fast, because there is quite a few tribal councils tonight, and there also is quite, well, not tonight, but you know, over the course of this episode. So and several immunity challenges as well. So and gameplay, of course, there's gameplay. So we see everyone going around about the same pace for the majority of the race until Julie sort of takes a bit of a lead and in the puzzle solving. So no one else is sort of having any success when it comes to creating the puzzle. And then Chris sort of drops his stuff and goes, Julie, can I just help you out there? He's like, oh, fit it in there, just if you hold that there and just push it in slightly. And I'm like, oh damn, like this is getting it's getting intense now because someone's ditched their own puzzle to actually help someone else. And I think what did happen there was I think Chris sort of knew he wasn't going to win, so I think he sort of wanted to get a couple of social points off Julie and just get on Julie's good side. And Devon's just sat there like, Chris, man, I don't know what you're doing. And I think, of course, Devon's had the right to reply to that because they just shook hands on a deal. And Chris is going, Julie, let me help you. So Devon's is like, please don't help you. So, of course, that's a dilemma there. So eventually Julie gets the puzzle solved and Julie wins individual immunity for the second time this season. So well done to Julie. I didn't think Julie was going to win any more immunity challenges, so big respect to Julie there. So I also forgot to mention that if you win this immunity challenge, there is also a reward that comes with it, and it was just sort of it was a steak sort of reward, steak with I think it's some sort of chocolate-based thing for dessert. So that's always fun. So Julie gets to decide who she takes on the reward with her, and she decides to take Chris since he's been on the edge of extinction for however many days, so he deserves some food. And she also decides to take Lauren, who has received several rewards, and so I thought that was a bit controversial, but it's up to Julie. She won the challenge, so she gets to pick the people. And Devons was vocal in the fact that he's unhappy he wasn't chosen. I felt sorry for the guy. People are gunning for him all the time, and you know, people are going, we got to get Devons out, and but you know, he's not. It's a mental strain, and it must feel awful. And then when he's not getting any rewards either, and then people are telling him, Devons, you're not coming on the road with him. Of course, it's going to take a further strain mentally. It's not going to be nice. So I think Devons did have a right. Well, anyone has a right to speak up about that sort of thing. But I did feel a bit sorry for Devons there. After the reward winners return to camp, we see Chris and Devons talking more game. And Chris straight up tells him, if it's not me who gets to the end, I will fight and die for Rick Devons to win this game. Wow, I mean, I think that says it all from a jury standpoint of view. I really do think that the jury think that Rick Devons is the guy to win this game, so watch out. So then we sort of see Rick ask him, Chris, do you have an idol? I know you've got something in that bag, because we all know what happened to Rick when he returned from the Edge of Extinction. Rick had an idol in his bag, and then Chris was like, you got me red-handed. So Chris then showed him, yes, I've got an idol, and I have to give half to someone else, and that's exactly what Devons had to do, and he gave his half to David last time. So Chris decides, you know, Devons, you can have this half of the idol, and that again, on Chris's part, Chris is building trust and getting Devons to trust him. So that was a good move. That really was a good move. So I think Chris sort of Chris did mention, I think I don't know if it was to the group or to Devons. I think he said, like, from the jury, they think that the biggest threats are Devons, and I think Devons knew that anyway because everyone was gunning for him, but the biggest threats are Devons and Victoria. So that makes them go, oh, hang on, maybe, just maybe, we should get Victoria out next. Idol reminder time now, folks, that Lauren does have an idol that she found, I think, on day 2 or something like that, so that's still in play, and Chris knows that because Wentworth brought it up at the edge. So Chris, the smart move for him would be to flush this idol out and get it to use it up, wear it out. So just throwing a bit of song lyrics in there. Chris sort of he gets Lauren to promise him that if Devons uses an idol on himself, which he knows is going to happen, she is going to use hers on Chris. In essence, this filters out the idol. So that's a brilliant move from Chris. I thought, wow, this guy, he just came back in the game and he's playing really, really well straight away. His social game's strong. He's getting someone to use an idol for him, which I think is obviously if Devons uses his, which is going to be fantastic. So let's jump in to the first tribal. Dun dun dun! It's tribal time, folks. So it's the usual. the jury comes in, and everyone sort of establishes that Rick is still the big target. They want to get him out. They've said this week after week after week. Has anyone managed to do it? No, of course they haven't, because Rick Devens is a legend, and nobody can take him out as of this point. So that's pretty much all that was established. So it's time to vote. Let's jump into it. So votes happen. Jeff asks if anyone wants to use their idol, and Devens brings up, Jeff, I want to try and use this little something on myself, and he does. He uses an immunity idol himself, so Devens is immune. And Lauren's like, Jeff, let me in on some of this action, and I'm going to use my immunity idol on Chris. That's 2 people immune, 3 including Julie, which is crazy times. Which means the only people that aren't immune are Lauren, Gavin, and Victoria. Which means that one of the alliance, well, a sort of alliance, because Julie wasn't really in it, but it's sort of they seem to be sticking together, are going home. So sorry, not Julie, Victoria, Gavin, and Lauren. I was completely wrong there. Take back everything I said. So yeah, it's one of them 3 that's going to be going home. So the votes are: first vote Devens, that's 1 vote for Devens and does not count. Second vote Devens, does not count. Third vote Devens, does not count. Then we got 4th vote Chris, does not count. Lauren's got a little smile on her face at this point. 5th vote Victoria, that's 1 vote Victoria. 6th vote Victoria, that's 2 votes Victoria. Victoria is out, and I think I just said Victoria so fast in a record amount of time there, but Victoria is out. I liked Victoria. I did. I think she played an under the radar game, great social game, but I don't really think she made that many big moves. From a jury standpoint of view, though, she seemed to be a threat, and if she got to the end, she could have stood a chance maybe if Rick wasn't there. But I liked Victoria. I do. As a person, she seemed extremely kind and sort of caring and nice. So I liked her to conclude. So let's talk about the votes. The votes for Devens were Lauren, Julie, and Gavin. The votes for Chris, well, that was 1 vote for Chris, was Victoria, and the votes for Victoria were Devens and Chris. So they masterminded that. They managed to get Victoria out. So that goes onto their resume again. They did fantastic by getting someone out in the position that they're in. Also, the idol flush worked perfectly because Lauren didn't need to use that idol. So fantastic move from Chris again there. That was brilliant. He managed to do that. So very well done to Chris. Let's go back to Varta now. It's the next day. So Rick wants to develop more trust. So he gives Chris his half of the idol back. So Chris obviously trusts him a tiny bit more now. And we see it's very early in the morning. Devens gets up again and begins that hustle like he always does. So hustling again for Devens. And he uses the wrapping and parchment that he's received on previous immunity idols as a little sort of wrapper for some fake immunity idols he's created. So he has 2 of those, and he puts them in the exactly the same spaces that they were before. So there's one in the log and also one above camp, just in the sort of the canopy of the bamboo. So yeah, that sort of that was a I don't even know what sort of movie you'd call that. That was an entertaining and also comic or comedic. I would say it was a very sort of comedic move and entertaining the viewers. So I think that was quite funny. But whilst he's sort of hiding them, you wouldn't guess what, Devens comes across another immunity idol. So that means Devens is probably going to be safe until the next time. So I thought, great times. Devens got this immunity idol. So well done, Devens. That was brilliant. So Julie and Lauren decide, let's find some immunity idols, and you wouldn't guess which 2 they stumble across. Lauren finds the one up on top of the bamboo, and Julie finds one in the log. So they're like, yep, I'm safe tonight, everything's cool, I'm not going anywhere. Back to more immunity now, and this is the second immunity challenge of the episode. So we see it's a wooden platform in the middle of the ocean, and there's 5 different obstacles that they have to cross to attain a puzzle piece bag each. So it's sort of just little imagine a circular platform, and then you've got sort of an arch that goes around the top of that circle, and then obviously there's going to be a gap in the middle of this arch, and there's 5 different ways to get across the arch to the circle. Imagine that. Hopefully that helps. And to every single one you cross, you take a puzzle bag with you, and once you've done all 5, you can collect these pieces and bring them to your little board, and then the first person to complete a puzzle, just like Survivor Classic. Well, not classic Survivor, but you know, a puzzle as in like always happens on Survivor. And first person to complete this puzzle wins individual immunity. We have got a lot to get through, so I'm just going to whiz over this quite fast again. So we sort of see Chris, he collects his bags very, very fast. He's sprinting through them, showing that he's a challenge beast again. So yeah, he did that pretty fast. And everyone else was sort of about the same pace. So, you know, it was tight on the back end, but towards the front, Chris had the big lead. And the difference was, though, when Chris had collected all of his puzzle bags, he went to sort of solve the puzzle and he couldn't do it. He was really struggling. He was finding it hard to piece everything together and understand what goes where. But on the other hand, the other players who had managed to catch up by then, because of Chris's slow time there, stood a chance. So we sort of see Gavin and Devons take the lead at this point. They're getting their puzzle pieces in pretty fast. They know where everything's supposed to go, and Devons manages to get it in first, and Devons wins individual immunity. So that's Devons' 4th time of individual immunity, that's pretty impressive if you ask me. So yeah, that was good. But commiserations to everyone else. They all played really, really well in that challenge. It was a tough one, but I think everyone performed really well. So back to camp now, and we're on back of Varta day 37, and Devons was getting congratulated by everyone. I'm pretty sure someone referred to him as Superman, so that's something. Devons he needs to decide how and if he wants to use his idol, because remember, he's got an idol now, but he's also got the immunity necklace, so he doesn't need to use the idol on himself. So he needs to sort of go, what can I do with this idol that'll better my game, or, you know, who can I trust further down the line? Because obviously you can't really trust anyone, but it's sort of, what's the best case scenario that could happen at tonight's tribal? So Gavin and Devons sort of get chatting on the beach, same place that him and Chris were earlier. And Gavin says, I don't know what you plan doing with this idol, but I'd really, really appreciate it, and I'd be indebted to you if you used it on me. And Devons was like, yeah, okay. But what I want from you is pretty steep. He said, if you're gonna, I'll use the idol on you if you win the next immunity challenge the next day, you will take me to final 3. So Gavin sort of boxed in now. He's in a corner and he's like, oof. So, but obviously it's Survivor. You gotta lie. You can't make serious promises. Well, you can, but you know, it's standard not to keep to them. So Gavin sort of says in his confessional, he sort of went like, you know, there's nothing else I can say because I've got no other option. And you know, if he does take Devons to the end, it's probably going to make him lose his game, which I did agree with. If he does take Devons to the end, he's not going to stand as high a chance of winning as he would without Devons at the end. So, you know, he's going to say, yeah, use his immunity idol on me, but I'll tell you, I'll save you. But I'm probably not going to. He didn't say that, though. He didn't say he wasn't going to keep him. But then there was a deal made. They shook hands, but I don't think Gavin would stick by it. So let's talk about the next part of the thing. We saw Julie, Lauren and Gavin decide, I think the best option tonight is for us to stick together, and we're going to vote Chris out. So that was sort of set in stone. But then Lauren sort of, with Idlegate that happened, how lots of people have got an idol, she started contemplating, she started going, hang on, there's 3 idols in play at the moment. Devons has got one, I've got one, and Julie's got one. She said, maybe one of these is fake. She said 1, not 2. So she thought that one of them might have been fake. But only time will tell. Well, we know, but they don't yet. So we see Lauren sort of pitch to Chris. She goes, let's get Julie out. I think it's the best thing that we could do. And Chris sees straight through this. He just thought it was a smoke screen. He thought it was a cover-up, and he thinks he's the real target. This sort of confirmed, I think, that Chris and Devons are definitely 100% cool with each other. I don't think Chris wants to work with anyone but Devons at this point. So they decide that they need to choose who goes home, because they've got the power this time. But they need to be on the same page. That's the thing. If they're not on the same page, things could go, poof, he chooses one, and they don't match. It's not going to work. But if they do match, then all should go well. So they do need to decide on who they're going to do. So they're sort of deciding between, you know, because he said he's going to use the idol on Gavin, it's going to be either Lauren or Julie. Who's going to be the sort of weighing the positives and negatives of each one, but Devons believes that Lauren has played the better strategic game of her and Julie. And but they also realise that Julie could be a problem since she's sort of played a really good social game. but they've got to decide who they want to send home. So it's sort of like it's a mix of emotions and it's a mix of opinions as well. So that's interesting. But sort of Devons does sort of say, you know, everyone thinks the safety night tribal's going to be so fun, and but they sort of do settle on the fact that, you know, Devons has been on the wrong side of votes, whereas Lauren hasn't. So Devons does really want Lauren out, but we'll see how everything plays out as we move on to the next tribal council. So guess what? Dun dun dun! It's tribal council time. Night 37. That's 2 days away from the end of the game. It's night 37. The sort of rigmarole of what goes on at tribal council is Jeff establishing the concept of the game, and then this leads on to the power of if. What does if mean in the game, and what's the concept of it? And, you know, everything comes down to chances and gambles and what you're willing to do. You know, if this person does this, what happens if I do this? Or if this person does this mean that I may have to do this? Or it's a lot of this path and this path. It's like a sort of I don't know what you call it. It's some sort of like flow. Is it a flow chart where you sort of go, if you do this, then you move on to this part, then this part, and this part. You get the idea anyway. And if is a very strong and powerful word to connote with this game that we call Survivor. So everyone votes, and then Jeff asks, does anyone want to use the idol? Now get ready for Idol Mania, folks, and get ready for some amazing idol moments, I guess. So Julie goes, Jeff, I'm going to try and use this idol. Jeff's like, this idol is fake. The jury are like, ooh, start laughing and everything like that. Devon's just sat there with a smile on his face. Lauren goes, I would like to use my idol. He is hoping it's not a fake. And she goes up and Jeff's like, I'm sorry, this is a fake idol. So the jury again wants laughing. Devon sat there with a big smile on his face. And then Devon goes, let me give something a go. I'd like to use this idol on Gavin. And then Jeff's like, this is a real idol. So that's the first real idol play we've had of the night. And the jury are loving it so far. Chris then uses an idol on himself, so this means that there's only one of two people that can go. It's either Julie or Lauren. So let's talk about the votes. First vote, Chris does not count. Second vote, Chris does not count. Third vote, Chris does not count. Fourth vote, Lauren. First vote, that's first vote for Lauren. And fifth vote, Lauren. That's 2 votes for Lauren. Lauren is out of Survivor Edge of Extinction. Crazy times. She said as she walked out the game, she went, that was a great move, Rick. I don't know how you did it, but well done. So that was sorry, no, Victoria said I don't know how you do it when she left, but Lauren again credited Rick for his move and said well done, which did sort of involve Chris as well, so she probably should have given a bit of credit to Chris for that. But you know, it's equally as impressive that both of them took part in that. So let's give the lowdown to Lauren. I enjoyed Lauren's game. I really thought she played well. She aligned herself with the right people all the time, and then even towards the game, her social game became much stronger after we saw War Dog and Wentworth leave the game. She put herself into sort of alliances that already existed really, really well, and she got along with people as well. And she had one common interest. It was getting Devons out, and I think that really helped her get further in the game. I did like Lauren as a person. Do you know what? There's not a single person this season I would slate as a person. Like, I've loved every single cast member this season, and I think it's been a fantastic season, as I said earlier. And big respect to Lauren for playing that game, because I think out of everyone, she physically pushed herself further than anyone else. So huge respect to Lauren for that. Absolutely huge respect. So I really do like Lauren. She continued to push through even when she was at rock bottom, when she fainted, and she continued to fight back. That was when my respect went through the roof for Lauren, and I just thought, yeah, this girl's a fighter, and I really do respect that a lot. So well done to Lauren, and sad times that she's out, but the game continues. Back to immunity now, and I feel like we've just talked about it, but we're back at it again, so let's go for it. So it's day 38 now, and it's immunity challenge, the final one of the season. So we see what you have to do is you have to negotiate like a rocking walkway, sort of like that sort of position, and you have to sort of balance your way onto it. And you walk to the end of this platform, and you balance sort of like some blocks on a little sort of, I'm going to say platform again, I don't want to say it, but it's like a stand, we'll just say a stand that hangs on the end of this platform. And you build these blocks up to spell FINAL 3, so that's final 3, and then obviously whoever does it first wins. But not only do they win immunity, they also decide who comes with them to the final 3 and who goes against each other in the fire making competition. So that's going to be an interesting one. And I'm going to go over this like super quick because you probably don't want to hear me just going like, and then they dropped the blocks, and then they kept going, and then they dropped it again, and then it kept rocking, and then it kept rocking. So you probably don't want to hear that. I'm just going to say it straight up. Chris won this challenge, so well done to Chris there. Absolutely fantastic job. He aced this challenge. Like everyone else was dropping their blocks left, right, and centre, but he managed to absolutely ace it. So well done to Chris there. Now we're back at Varta on day 38, and this is one of the biggest decisions of the season that Chris has to make. This could potentially be a $1 million decision, which is huge. I mean, you can't take this sort of stuff lightly. So there was a lot of talk going on about what's going to happen. So Chris and Devons go for a little talk, and Chris asks him, Devons, did you practice fire making before you came out here? And Devons was like, yep. And then Chris was like, I'm sorry, man. I'd be a fool to take you to the final because you're going to beat me. So I'm sorry, but you're going to have to go to fire making, and I need to decide who's going to go against you. So that was set in stone there, and Devons thought, right, okay, time to hustle again. I've got to practice fire. I've got to make sure I can get through here because I've hustled so hard and I don't want to lose out at this point. So Devons again, he went straight off to practice the fire making. And in the confessional, Chris did say, if I was to take Devons, I'd be the stupidest Survivor player ever. I mean, if he was to take him to the final, he probably would lose against Devons. Like that, I think that's what the case would be. I think anyone would lose against Devons in the final. So then Chris begins to tutor Julie and Gavin on fire making. He's showing them the best techniques. He's showing them how to do it fast and the most efficient way to do it, because Chris seems to be the best at fire making out of the lot. But he needs to decide who's he going to put up against Devons. Is it going to be Julie or is it going to be Gavin? Who's going to be able to beat him? Because at the end of the day, nobody wants Devons in the final because you don't stand a chance if you get up next to him in the final. So it's a big decision to make, but he wants to make sure that someone can beat Devons. So it's time to move to another tribal council. Dun dun dun. Tribal time, folks. So we've got Gavin telling Chris, I want to earn my position in the final 3, in the final tribal council, so don't pick me. I would love to go up against Devons. I want to beat Devons. I want to do it. And then there was a lot of sort of backwards and forwards sort of stuff, but the fact that Gavin said that in front of the jury would have gone, wow, this lad wants to step up to the plate. He wants to make sure he can earn his spot in the final 3. He doesn't want to just float there. So big move off Gavin there, but none of that mattered from what happened next. Chris takes off the immunity necklace. He goes, I'd like to give the immunity necklace to Julie. Puts it on Julie and says, Jeff, I'll be going up against Devons in the fire making. Oh damn, that was a big move. That to me was the moment where I thought, if Chris can beat Devons, this lad deserves to win the whole season, because that was fantastic. He played brilliantly ever since he's returned the game. So, that was amazing. I really did think, but he's got to beat Devons first, so we'll see what happens. This was like the Battle of the Gladiators. It was intense as hell. It was just, I'm blown away by it. But then Jeff tells us the Fijian winds are very strong tonight, so we'll be making the fire in the voting booth. So they have to move up to there to let the fire making commence. Now, I'm not just going to sit here ages describing someone making a fire, because that would be pretty boring. So I'll just sort of go over it briefly. So they were both making the fire, but they kept losing the flame. They were getting the sparks, and it was lighting the little bits of sort of like grass and sort of what have you, but the flame kept going out. But eventually Chris manages to get a flame, and he begins putting the twigs on to build up the fire, so it's getting a bit higher. So, because obviously the end goal is to get the high enough flame so it'll burn the string on top to release the wooden thing. Oh god, my arms are going all over the place there. So that's what they have to do basically. And then Devons is still struggling. He can't get his flame off the ground whilst Chris is building up. But then Devons finally manages to get a flame as well. So there's still hope. And then but it's too late. It's too late. Chris's flame manages to burn through the string, sending Devons home. So Rick Devons is eliminated. Sad, sad times. Really, really is. That man is a legend in my opinion, and I've got the utmost respect for him. I think he's absolutely incredible, and I respect him so much as a player. Like, I was saddened. It was an emotional time when he went, but at the same time, it's strange because ever since I've started doing video podcasts and what have you, it's it's changed my outlook on things. Like, usually if my favourite went out, was eliminated by someone, I'd be like, can't stand them. But now I take into perspective all things. I look at this side, look at this side, and I balance it all out. And I've got to respect Chris for what he did. I will remember Chris as the man who slayed the great Rick Devens, and I thought that was excellent. Chris played it perfectly since he's returned from the Edge. So fantastic job there, Chris. An extremely brave move, giving up your immunity to go to fire. I thought that was top notch. Really, really well done there. So sad times that Rick's out, but again the game moves on, and you know, as Devon's torch was snuffed and taken out, the jury applauded him, and I thought that was so nice because Devon's has played a killer game this season, and the fact that everyone just went as soon as he went out, I thought that's amazing. So big well done to Rick Devons there. So now we have our final three. We've got Julie, Gavin and Chris. And then we move on to the final tribal council. So does that mean I have to go dun 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 again? I've just done it, so let's go with it. Julie had a speech about how she thinks she thought she was an emotional player, but she used her emotions as a social strength. And I was sort of thinking, is that really the case? Like I think she's sort of like, I don't understand how she used her emotions as a social strength. I couldn't really think a way around that. In my opinion, I think Julie's strengths have been a social game, as in like she's bonded well with people and moved when she had to as well. When she found she was at the bottom of the totem pole, she moved over to a different place that valued her more, and I thought that was good. She played a good social game. Then we saw Gavin's speech, and he said his biggest move was getting getting Aubrey and Joe out. Again, I was like, I mean, I see people online going, yeah, Victoria got Aubrey out, and she might have been a more sort of predominant role in getting them out, but I feel like that was a general consensus role, both of them. People like to, on social media, go onto their favourite fans and say, you know, I think this person did a great job of getting this person out. Yeah, I respect that they were a part of getting this person out, but they weren't solely responsible for getting those people out. So again, I thought that was a bit of a lost cause, but don't get me wrong, I do like Gavin. I think he seems like a genuinely nice guy. Gavin sort of he had to speak to Devons when Devon started asking a question. He said, why weren't you looking for an idol? And Gavin said, you know, I didn't need to look for idols because I felt safe usually. I was in the numbers, and I thought, yeah, I guess that's true really. And but still, I feel like people who are out there looking for idols and fighting for it more deserve the title of Soul Survivor more. So again, it was a tricky one. But the one thing I respect 110% of Gavin was that Rick Devons called out the fact that Gavin didn't even receive a single vote this season. His name was never put down once, which I thought that was Bonza. That sounded Australian there, but that was Bonza. It really was. I thought that was fantastic that he had a name written down. It's so like, I respect it as well, because, you know, when you talk about these sort of shows and talk about someone having a perfect game, it usually means that they've never had their name written down or never voted once. So I thought that was unbelievable and extremely respectable as well for that. So Chris sort of concluded on, I think he said something about a negative reverse technique on what he did to get Lauren to use her idol on him, and that was a pivotal point in the game. The fact he flushed Lauren's idol out was very, very respectable. So I applaud him for that. And also, as I said earlier, he was the man who slayed the great Rick Devons, so who everyone was trying to get out but couldn't. So that's two major things. He may not have been in the game long, but he made a huge impact for the time he was in the game. So big respect to Chris for that. So, you know, overall, these three, the final three here, have all played a very unique game. That's what I'd say, a very unique game, but they've all played good games. And people can slate people all they want to say, like, oh, they don't deserve to be in final three, they don't deserve to be in final three. You got to remember, anyone who gets to the final three essentially has gotten to the final three. They deserve it. They've done something right that the people who, you know, the people who've gone before the final three haven't done right. So you've got to respect them for making it to the final three. So enough about that. The jury went to vote, and then we move over to LA to count the final votes and see who's the winner of Survivor Edge of Extinction. It's the time we've all been waiting for, the huge build-up to the finale of the season. Who is the winner? So let's talk about the votes. So I'm going to just jump straight into it, and then we'll give a lowdown afterwards. So the first vote to win was for Chris. That's 1 vote, Chris. Second vote to win was Gavin, so that's 1 vote for Gavin. Third vote, Chris, 2 for Chris. Fourth vote, Gavin, that is 2 for Gavin. Fifth vote, Chris, so that is 3 votes for Chris. Sixth vote, Gavin, so that's 3 votes for Gavin. Seventh vote, Chris, that's 4 votes for Chris. Eighth vote, Gavin, that's 4 votes for Gavin, so it's neck and neck at this point. Ninth vote, Chris, that's 5 votes for Chris. 10th vote, Chris, that's 6 votes for Chris. 11th vote, Chris, that's 7 votes for Chris. That's enough. Chris is the sole survivor of Survivor Edge of Extinction. Well done, Chris. Very well played for the time you were in the game. And I know people say he didn't deserve it because he wasn't in the game. I don't care. The theme of this season was Edge of Extinction, and that was the theme. Each season you have to outwit, outplay, and outlast the theme. It's the game. The game changes. If the game was the same every season, then there's one certain criteria of what you have to be the sole survivor. But this season was Edge of Extinction, and Chris's gameplay and character fitted that perfectly. So well done for Chris to win in that. I think he played a fantastic game for the time he was in the game. So congratulations to you, Chris. I think you played brilliantly. Wow, what a season. Absolutely what a season. I love this cast. I really did. And I thoroughly enjoyed watching everyone play, and I've really enjoyed making these videos and doing these podcasts, and it's been a great adventure for this to be the first ever show and first ever season of something that I've shared with you guys, and I've loved doing it, and I can't thank you enough for the support. To mix the podcast I'm doing with this amazing show is incredible, and I honestly, I respect this show so much. I love the concept behind it. I love the idea. I love everything about it. I think it's amazing, and I can't respect the show enough. I can't respect the cast enough. I can't respect production enough. I think it's extremely high production value and just fantastic overall. Survivor, people can have their difference in opinions, but at the end of the day, it puts a smile on our face, and that's why it's still on air, because people love it like that. And I think as a fan base, we need to stick together and drive that positivity so everyone can really still enjoy it. And I think that's the best way to look at it. So I'll quickly go over who voted who. So the votes for Chris were Reem, Aubrey, Joe, Eric, Julia, David, Wardog, Ron and Victoria. And the votes for Gavin were Rick, Lauren, Aurora and Wentworth. So that was 9-4. And no votes for Julie. So maybe that says something, that the jury just didn't see anything in Julie's game as much as they did for Chris and Gavin. I think the right person won, in my opinion. But it's obviously, whatever happens, there's going to be a difference of opinion. People are going to say different things, and you got to respect those views. But I think, in my opinion, the best player won for the ones that were in the final 3. I'm also almost speechless here. I really am. I know, I'm not going to be speechless because I'm going to keep going on and on and on. But I do feel speechless right now, and I really genuinely can't thank people enough for joining me on my first adventure into the world of YouTube and podcasting. I really do enjoy it, because it started as a podcast. It's sort of now moved on a video channel, and I'm sort of we'll see what happens in the future. It might be more podcasts. It might be more video content. So we'll see what happens there. But again, thank you ever so much. Now I'm going to say all the cliche stuff for the final time this season. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to share, like, subscribe, comment, and do all that jazz. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, I did tell you at the beginning of the video that I would be discussing what show I'm going to do next. It's likely, drumroll please, I'm going to be covering Big Brother USA when that comes out in the summer. So there's going to be a tiny bit of a break. I'll probably put some little tidbits of content on in between, but we'll see what comes up. But that's what's coming next, Big Brother USA, and I can't wait to sink my teeth into that. I love that show as well, and it's going to be fun. I don't know what the what sort of style I'm going to do it in. I don't know if I'm going to do 1 a week or 2 a week, but we'll see, because there's obviously 3 episodes of Big Brother a week, which is exciting. It's likely I'll do a weekly roundup, or maybe just an upload now and again, maybe not sort of scheduled. But yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic doing this season, and I couldn't have asked for a better audience. So thank you so much for everyone who's viewed and subscribed, and I can't wait to create future content, and hopefully you all enjoy it as well. So I'm going to have to come to the end. I've been your host, Tom Vasey. Good night.